Hi, everyone, and welcome. I see that we have a lot of people joining us right now. Welcome to our webinar today with Solo and Lakbyte. So, if you're a freelancer who's thinking of moving to Spain, or if you're already here, this is the webinar for you. So many of you have probably realized that the visa is only one part of the journey. There's really also the question about what comes after, especially to make sure that you stay compliant, especially now that the UHE has started sending notices of cancellation if you haven't registered as soon as possible for taxes and as an autonomo after your approval. So at Lakbyte, we've helped a lot of you already moved to Spain. So since 2023, we've helped over 800 people moved to Spain through the digital nomad visas and through other visas. And what we've really seen time and time again is that it's not enough that you get approved and you get to Spain. You also have to think about staying compliant after. So today with Solo, we will make sure that you understand at least the basics of your obligations with regard to taxes and working remotely from Spain. So this is why we invited Shade, customer success specialist at Solo, to join us today and to explore and discover what your obligations are here in Spain. Welcome, Shade.
Hi, thank you, Marianne, and hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. I know that it's been crazy. I mean, moving from countries, finding how bureaucracy goes, everything, it's so new, but that's why we are here. So we want to help you. So it's amazing that you have taken the leap already with the visa. You already have that. So that's the first step. And now what is being an autonomo in Spain. So I know that you've heard a lot of rumors, but here we are to explain everything that you need to know. All right. So let's get to the presentation, maybe. Yes. Today, if there are any questions, okay, so be sure to leave that in the comments, and we're going to go through that at the end of the presentation, because I'm sure that maybe I will go and answer a lot of the things that you have already in your head in the presentation. Okay, but if there is anything that you know that I haven't said and you want to ask, leave it in the comment section, and then we can go through that. Okay. So let's pull the curtain on the Spanish tax systems, and I will show you how to navigate it through without the stress. So the roadmap for the session, what we're going to discuss today is first, tax obligations, okay? What is that you need to do? We'll demystify the quarterly and annual report. Think of this like a survival guide for Hacienda's calendar. Second, everybody's favorite topic, deductions. I know that some of you already were thinking about that, but we're going to talk about what you can actually claim as a business expense and what is a personal deduction. Okay, so two different things, and what we want is to keep you safe when you deduct something. All right. And third, we'll look at the invoicing and compliance, because this is critical right now. Things are changing in Spain. It was supposed to change this year, but now they move it to next year. So starting January, very facto, it's going to be in place, and we are going to make sure that you know everything you need to know to keep that in place. And fourth, I'll show you how Solo, that it's because why I'm here, can be your perfect copilot. Okay, we'll do a quick walkthrough of our platform, the pricing plans, how we automate the boring stuff that you don't want to look at, but you don't need to do, and how we handle it for you. Okay, and of course, finally, the Q&A, right? All right, so let's get started and let's look at the dates. It's the first thing on our calendar. All right. So now let's get into the rhythm of the Spanish tax year. As an autonomo, your life is measured in quarters. Okay, every 3 months you have an appointment with Hacienda. There are 3 main dates and forms that you need to be sure that you have in your radar. First is the modelo or form, if you want to say in Spanish, is modelo 303, that is the VAT or IVA in Spanish as well. So in this case, you need to think if IVA existing around the world. Can you hear me? Yes? Yeah?
We're all good.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Modelo 303, it's the VAT, and then VAT exists all around the world. Think of yourself as a tax collector, and you added 21% of the Spanish IVA or VAT in your invoices, and then every quarter you give it back to Hacienda. Okay, the magic here is that you can subtract the VAT that you paid on your business expenses, so everything that you buy, from the VAT that you collected. So you only pay the difference in these quarterly reports. Okay, deadline is always the 20th of the month following the quarter that is sorry, following the month that the quarter has ended. For example, January, February, and March are the first quarter, and the 20th of April, that is the deadline, like last day ever to file the form for the first quarter. All right. Next, Modelo 130. This is the IRPF repayment. So it is at the end of the year, you need to pay taxes. And in these quarterly reports, what you do is to prepay what you are supposed to pay at the end of the year. So it's like kind of like a pay-as-you-go system for the annual income tax. You pay at 20% of the net profit. Net profit is the total revenue minus the deductible expenses. We're going to go there every quarter. And why do we do it? I mean, it prevents a massive, painful tax bill at the end of the year when you are filing, well, not at the end of the year, next year when you're filing the renta in spring. So if you've already paid 20% throughout the year in these quarter reports, then you're most likely will be covered for the end of the year renta. Okay, and finally, for those of you working across borders, there's the Modelo 349. So if you have clients in Germany, for example, or you pay for software from a company in Ireland, you need to report this as intercommunity transactions. Good news about this form is that it's informative. You don't need to pay anything out of it, but it's mandatory because Hacienda is very strict about the numbers that needs to match with what your partners in the rest of the European countries are reporting on their end as well. Okay, so this is like an informative model, an form, but it needs to be drawn every quarter. And the calendar days that you need to keep, as you see below, April, July, and October 20 are the big deadlines. Like those are the last days that you need to have to file these forms every quarter. All right, except for January, like the last quarter, they give you like a little breathing room. It's instead of the 20, it's the 30. I mean, 10 days of the party days. The biggest takeaway here is that if you miss these dates, Hacienda doesn't send a polite reminder that you need to pay anything. They send a fine. Okay, so you need to be super sure that everything is covered and then you are submitting the correct forms every quarter. Now, annual tax return, and I'm gonna go to the deductions, I promise. If the quarterly reports and the quarterly fillings are, let's say, like the chapters of the book, the renta is the summary. You already know this. Like renta, it's the annual tax return, and it happens once a year from April till June. And you need to file there everything that you've done as a person living in Spain, working, living, partying, whatever you do. So first, who must file the renta? And this is maybe a question that you already have because you have the visa now. But in Spain, if you're an autónomo, the answer is almost always you. So you, regardless of how much you earn, if you were registered as a self-employed or not, but everyone that was living in 2025 in Spain are required to file a return in 2026. Okay, so previous year, remember, if you just got to Spain, this is not for you. Okay, you need to be autonomous, but you don't need to file a renta if you got in 2026. This also applies to anyone who lives in Spain for more than 183 days. Okay, the days are specific. 183 days because you are considered a tax resident in Spain. Even if you already filed taxes elsewhere, if you spend more than 183 days in Spain, you need to say to the Spanish Hacienda, so, yay, I'm not a tax resident, maybe I am. This is the situation I'm in, okay? But that's a story for another day. Now, let's look at how the math actually works and follow the icons that I have here with me. Well, here. Well, we start with all your income, okay? So you have all this money that you earn in 2025. This isn't just your freelance work. Of course, it includes the rentas that you have, if you have rents, investments that you have, if, even in Spain or abroad, or everything, dividends that you're collecting from a company, or even a part-time salary that you have, if you have one. Then subtracts, deductions, okay? This is where your professional expenses and the personal ones, like if you have children or housing costs, some of those can reduce your bill. Okay, so we have this amount, you can deduct this, and then it gives us the taxable base. In the taxable base, we apply the progressive tax rates. I don't know if you have seen that table that it's in the Hacienda website, where it ranges from 19 to up to 47% of taxes that I will apply to the taxable base. It depends on how much you earn, how much you're gonna pay. And of course, the most important part is that as an autonomous, you have already prepaid 20% at least every quarter with the Modelo 130 that we were already talking about. Okay, so this looks big, maybe the number is big, but you have already done something. You have already paid it something to Hacienda throughout the year, because you've been paying the 20. I mean, it's math. Okay, so the final result will be one of three things: a salida, that it's maybe you owe a bit more, so you need to pay something. You pay 20%, but at the end of the year, in the deduction, something didn't add up, then you need to pay the difference that Hacienda says that you need to pay. Devolución, or a refund, that is the Hacienda owes you money, okay? And this is so beautiful, but they have until the end of the year to return it, okay? So this is not immediate, like they want us to do with them. And the other outcome is the zero balance. Zero balance would be the best case scenario, because you already pay what you owe, and with everything, the calculations that you've done throughout the year, it's like you've done perfectly. Like you pay your taxes in these quarter reports and calculated your deductions just in time, that and nothing needs to be paid or refunded at the end of the year. Some people actually want to pay more and then have Hacienda refund them. I mean, it's a way of saving if you see it that way. But what happens if you have to pay? Hacienda is actually flexible, okay? So in this case, if you have to pay, you don't have to pay it all in June, because that's the limit that you have to present this report. But you can choose to split the payment, okay? But you have two ways to split it. First, it's paying in two installments. So you pay 60% of the amount that you have to pay in June, and the 40% remainder, it's gonna be paid in November. Okay, so these are 2 dates for you to pay. There are no interest that applies to this. But if you need more time, like, okay, so no, I have to pay, I don't know, 10,000 euros. I hope that no one of you have this situation, but if you need to pay a lot and you need more time, you can even request up to 24 monthly installments. But in this case, these installments do carry interest, okay? So the goal of the renta isn't to take more of your money, it's to make sure that everything that you pay during the quarters matches exactly what you owe based on the total income that you have. So if you know that I will have a total income annually of 100,000 euros, for example, and I have this deductible cost, how much willing to pay at the end of the year? That is the question. Actually, we have a calculator that you can use in our website. So if you are curious about, you can also do that. But let's go to the deductible expenses. And this is the fun part because this is how you keep more of your hard money in your pocket. So in the world of the autonomous, deductions are the best friends. Every euro you deduct is a euro that it is in tax, but Hacienda has two golden rules in this case for deductions. Expenses must be exclusively for business and it must be properly documented with a full invoice. Okay? Invoice, not receipts. Because I know around the world there are certain like conditions that if the receipt from the machine where you pay with card, that is not an invoice. An invoice, it's a full document. But I'm gonna go there in a bit. First, operations and tools. When with what you work every day, okay, it's a deductible expense. So the hardware of your digital office, your software subscriptions, your co-working fees, the hardware that you use. This is easy because you already know that these are expenses or payments that you're making because you need it to work. Okay, this is easy. But it gets a bit more complicated when you are working from home, and we know that a lot of people had that issue in the COVID. But if you work from home, you cannot deduct the entire rent. You can deduct a proportional share of what you use as your working environment. For example, I'm working from home now and I use this room and only the space and the utilities that are based on the square meters of this room can be deducted. Okay. If you are living, you're renting a room or you're renting a house or an apartment or whatever, there needs to be certain conditions met for you to be able to deduct that. Okay, but we can help you with that. It's just a quick view over the renting agreement, but you can deduct at least a proportion of the place that you're using as an office, even if it's in your own home. Okay, so it's a specific calculation, but it's something that it's vital for you. Okay. There is also, yes, the Social Security. I don't know if you know, but when you pay Social Security, if you've already in the second year, maybe the third year, there is an amount that you need to pay, that it's important amount, that it depends on how much you earn as well. If you don't know that, we also have this information on our website and you can also consult it directly on the Seguridad Social, Seguridad Social website. They have a table where it says you need to pay this amount if you earn in these brackets. But this payment that you do, it's fully deductible. Ta-da! So, when you pay the Seguridad Social, it's actually the only expense that you don't need an invoice to be able to deduct it. You can deduct it with the bank receipt because they just debit it directly from your bank account. And with this information, you can submit it as an expense and it can be fully deductible. So I'm hearing maybe 200, 300 euros monthly. It can save you thousands, maybe, a year. And the third one, it's other business costs. So don't forget, there are hidden costs of doing business. So your banking fees, for example, are deductible. Only if these are bank fees in your professional account, right? Marketing spend, the fees that you pay for solo. Actually, we add when you pay for an accountant, this is deductible because you're paying it only because you are being autonomous. So it can be deducted. As solo, we already automated, like we send the invoice and it's already automated to be added as an expense for your activity. If you're traveling to meeting a meeting or meeting a client, transport cost, some meals, not all of the meals, there is like super specific, like, and very little details that maybe we pass, but it can be deducted. Of course, there are conditions and you need to add certain information so it can be correctly expensed, but it can be deducted, okay? And I'll leave you with this critical tip. Hacienda can audit your accounts up to 4 years back. So it's not like you presented this report and it was done and it's forgotten and Hacienda won't do anything. They can come 4 years later and say, hey, do you remember that gaming console that you bought when you were an autonomous, but you were a copywriter? So why would you need a gaming console? All right. So this is like an extreme case. Maybe not. We have seen it all. But that's a red flag. All right. So stick to the rule, exclusive use for your business. You know, if an expense is mixed, like the housing part, or maybe the mobile phone, we can only deduct the proportional share that you keep to your business so you can be safe for audits. Okay. And also Solo has an FAQ page. We have like expense, what everything you can expense. And we have it very neatly and with emojis and stuff you can go through if you have questions. These are like, this is the backbone, okay? Everything you can use. And if you are not sure, always consult with your accountant, okay? Before buying anything. Now, I want everyone to take a mental step back. Okay, for a moment, we just talked about the monthly business expenses, but as a person, also, this slide is different because these are the personal tax deductions. These apply on the quarterly reports as the other ones that we were talking, because these are reported during the renta filing. Okay, so this is like on a yearly basis, you can deduct as a person living in Spain. Okay, so maybe you say, okay, I pay for an insurance, a health insurance for me and my family because I'm living here and I don't know. You cannot deduct that as a business expense, but you can deduct it as a personal expense in your tax deductions at the end of the year. Okay, so first, let's look at the big three that we know that are the things that happen most of the time to people that are coming to Spain living and then maybe they don't deduct at first. But health insurance, as I was mentioning, if you pay a private health insurance, you can, your spouse, your children, only your nuclear family group, you can deduct up to 500 euros per person per year. Okay, so if you pay more than that, sorry, but you can deduct up to 500. Okay, I mean, if you are a family of four, that it's a 2,000 euros deduction on the taxable base. So it's a good thing that you can deduct. If you already have it, just put it there. Second, pension plans. If you are already, it doesn't matter where, but if you are already paying contributions on a private, this is important, private pension plan, you can deduct that as well on the annual tax report. Okay, there are limits. Okay, and in this case, this is it is specific. There is not there is not a limit amount, but it will be based on the age, on the income, and the place that you're living, like in the community that you're living in Spain. But essentially, the government is trying to incentivize to save for your own future, because we don't know what will happen. And third, work life and family support. So if you're a parent, and if you have children under 3, you can you have the specific deductions, especially for daycare, maternity and paternity leave. There are other things, and normally these are often applied as a direct direct credit, and it's not a refund, but it's done like very quickly. It's like you already mentioned this, and they won't ask for much information on that side. Okay, but also, since Spain it's highly decentralized, there are regional deductions. So depending on where you live, whether it's Madrid, Catalunya, Andalusia, your local government also offer bonus deductions. And I really want to live in a place where a gym membership is able to deduct. And veterinary expenses, because I don't know you, but I have a dog and they are costly. And also, if you buy an electric vehicle or renovate your home for energy efficiency, if you own a home, there are huge deductions that apply for people that have done that under 2025. Also, well, I already mentioned gym membership. That is true. I'm looking at you, Andalusia. Prescription glasses as well. Veterinary expenses are also able to be deducted in the Andalusia region. Andalusia is going to be the perfect place now. And celiac related cost. Okay, celiac related food that you buy can also be deducted. I don't remember now the region where you can do that. Okay, but you can do that. So if you are not sure if this applies to you, then you can go and look. And of course, this is the most overlooked part on the tax return when you are filing it and you are in the Hacienda website and doing it. If you are one of those that dare to do it by yourself, because I'm not. Normally, people accept everything, all the information, because Hacienda already has this information, and they give you the draft, and you can just say okay. But these regional deductions are often overlooked when you are filing the tax return. At Xolo, we dig into this regional specifics, because what we do is to help you save money, of course. And the best way is, as you know already, deductions. So, give me that. Now this is the fun part. Not that fun because new rules apply, so we'll see how it's gonna come next year. But let's move away from the pay or how you bill or everything. Spain, okay, it's introducing a new way to send invoices. Okay, this is there is one thing that you need to know, is that the invoices are not just a paper, it's a legal document. So everything that needs to be there, it's not aleatory, it needs to be there, because if you are missing something there in the invoice, Hacienda can invalidate your deductions, or worse, they can even fine you. Okay, then mandatory fields that needs to be on your invoice. First, identification. So your identification, in this case, NIF or NIE, if you have it, the NIE, your client's LIE or DNI, working throughout the acronyms. Also, a clear description of your services. So if you said that you were a copywriter, in the description that you add in the invoice needs to match what you do. Okay, it cannot say sales invoice. That's general. Cannot be. That can be returned. Okay, and one small detail that people often miss is that you must also include the date of operation and the date of issue. Okay, this might be different because you've done work today and then you're sending the invoice at the end of the month. This information also needs to be on the invoice. Okay. VAT rules, of course, since we are here all global freelancers. VAT rules are a bit of an annoying case. But if your client, let's say, if your client is in Spain, it's simple because you add the 21% and that's it. Okay. But if you're sending an invoice to another business inside the European Union, okay, business, not a person, then it should be 0%. You don't need to add the VAT only if you are registered in the VS. The VS is a way to track the VAT pay business to business inside the European country. And it's a report that is done through Hacienda in all of the countries, where what they want to do is to incentivize also to do business between countries in the European Union. So no VAT applies if you are dealing with another business inside Europe. And if your client is outside Europe, normally, I don't know, let's say US or UK, it's an export service. So normally that's also treated with 0%. Okay, but now, what I was telling before, that it's important now, full attention on very facto updates. Rules of the game are changing because normally you have everything, you've done everything in the quarter, then you submit it, and then at the end of the year, Hacienda check everything. Maybe they check something quarterly, okay? But now the de facto update will allow them to check the information in real time. All right. So no mistakes should be done. I mean, you need to be super clear and very detailed on the invoice. So it needs to be double checked multiple times to avoid any issues. Okay, but the thing is that this is designed to stop creative accounting. Okay, no, we've seen things. And the fines for non-compliance are significant. Okay, so if you don't have already your digital certificate and you want to check how de facto works, you need to first have your digital certificate, and then we can introduce you to this work. Okay, Solo is already de facto ready. Actually, we are ready. We were ready not last year on December because it was supposed to come into working this January, but they delayed it until next year. Okay. Hacienda has a long memory, all right? So they can audit up to 4 years back, as I already mentioned. So you need to tell your clients, and you also need to save the invoice somewhere, okay? Not only a desktop or a pen drive. You need to have this information very ready, cloud-based maybe, that ensures that they cannot be changed. They're mutable, they're sequential, they are safe. In case that Hacienda comes and asks, you already have this information with you. All right. To wrap up our technical side, and I know that we are almost on time. I want to address the specific questions that we normally hear, and I don't know if you already asked that in the comment questions, but I'll just go and tell you the specific questions that we normally have from Digital Nomad Visa community. So if you already have this, your tax situation is a bit like having one foot in Spain and the other in the global market. We know. Let's clear the confusion. Most common question normally is, I work for foreign clients. Do I still pay tax in Spain? And the short answer is yes. If you spend more than 183 days a year here, you are a Spanish tax resident, as we already mentioned in the first part of the presentation. Spain taxes your worldwide income. Okay, whether your client is in London, New York, or Paris, the income must be reported in Spain via the IRPF. Okay, don't forget the VAT. Maybe that's VAT is another thing, but being a nomad doesn't exempt you from the collector role. Okay, so where you are a tax resident, it's normally where you need to pay taxes. Can I avoid double taxation? And yes, this is a major concern. Of course, nobody wants to pay twice, especially taxes. But for the same thing that you're already doing. Okay, but thankfully Spain has tax treaties with nearly 100 countries, so a lot. And if you already pay tax on specific income abroad, okay, you can often claim the double taxation credit. Sorry, it was great. The key here is documentation. Okay, you must have official proof that you already paid taxes in that country for us to apply the credit in the Spanish rent. Okay, this is done in the annual returns, okay, not in the quarterly reports. Okay, Beckham law. I don't know if somebody asked a Beckham law. This is the holy grail for many expats because, of course, this allows you to pay a flat rate of 24%. And thank God Beckham for that, maybe. But it's not easy to get it. You can apply, of course. And normally the digital nomad visa holders can qualify for this, yes. Okay, but it's a separate application. Okay, it's another thing completely. It is incompatible with the normal IRPF brackets that we were already talking, because, as you know, it's 24% and that's it. But it requires a different filing, another modelo that is 151. And that's sort of what we do, is that we can help you determine if this is the right financial move for you, because there is a lot of going on in the application for the Beckham law. But it could change, of course, how you pay taxes and how you handle deductions. And finally, Do I need to register as an autonomous straight away? And if you're living in Spain and regularly invoicing for your work and you already have the DNV visa, then yes, it's a firm yes. And to be legal, you must be registering both Social Security and the tax agency. Okay, so it needs to be done almost immediately. Okay. The Digital Nomad Visa gives you the right to live here, of course, but the Autonomo helps you with the right to work. So everything stays hassle-free with Hacienda, right? And I know we've covered a lot of ground. I'm almost at the end. How Solo can help me? What do I do with the VAT, IRPF, Renta, Beckham Law, everything? Okay, that's exactly what Solo is for. Okay, our goal is to be your co-pilot, or at least your financial co-pilot in Spain. So we do it in with these three main pillars that you see here. First, we have a digital platform. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to hold papers. Everything is digital, no more spreadsheet. We have already our system that works amazingly, actually. And all you need to do is to upload information for the expenses, add your customers once. You don't need to even calculate the taxes because everything is already there. It's fantastic. I was an autonomo, okay, and then I started to work in Solo, so I know what I'm talking about, and I tell you, it is best. Chat kiss. Second, total transparency. Okay, one of the biggest stressors is the surprise tax that you need to pay at the end of the quarter. It is not surprise, okay? You can calculate that, but with Solo we have a real-time dashboard where it shows exactly, of course, because it's fit with the information that you add, okay? It's fit with the income that you have reported through the invoice, okay? Invoices that you already have done, the expenses that you report, and it tells you the amount that you are likely to owe at the end of the quarter. So you are prepared with the information that you are uploading there. So no more guessing. The dashboard show you, and you'll know what to pay, when, and why, long before the deadline hits. So I love that. And the third most important part is the human experts. As you see, my role here is a customer success specialist. So I will help you throughout, along with a big team of my colleagues that are amazing. The accountants as well are experts in what they do, and they speak Spanish and English. So I mean, I would love to say more languages, but this is as far as we go. But at least we can help you with, because I know one of the things is the things that get lost in translation, but we are focused on helping everybody to keep their accounting clear. So in short, we cover the full cycle of your business. We handle the full registration of Autonomo. If you are not yet an Autonomo, if you are already, you can also join us. We manage the complexities of the foreign income and the Beckham law if you need it and if you want to apply, or if you already applied and you don't know what you're doing. And we already are very factor ready, so you are protected for the future, and we provide a dedicated rent filling service if you haven't done it to wrap up your year perfectly. So I mean, the outcome here is that being an autonomous shouldn't scare you, shouldn't be a pain. And if you help and hire the correct people to do it, it's really, really like a stress and not to be a stressful situation. We have a plan for everyone. So maybe if you already know how to file the taxes, but you want the tool, you can do it in line. We have started and global plans that work for people working through with Spain and with our global clients, and our premium plans to those that do not want to do anything and they want an accountant ready on the chat or on the call so they can help you. Okay, so we have like people for everybody. And last but not least, and thanks for the Lakbyte community, and you are the Lakbyte community, but Lakbyte, for this invitation, you have an extra 50 euros bonus when you're joining Solo through the link that you see here. I mean, I'm sure the Lakbyte team is going to be sharing it with you in the comment sections. But once you do that, then you get a 50 euros in your account when you are registered as an autonomo with us. Okay. And that's it. I actually think that it was fast with all the information that we covered. But thank you for listening and thank you for joining. I know that you have questions. Maybe, I don't know, Marianne, you want to help me go and serve through that?
Thank you, Shade. So before we move to the questions, I want to say big thank you to Shade for her time and sharing her practical insights with the community. I already see quite a few questions, and some of them are quite specific. So before we begin, just a quick reminder: everything shared today is going to be for general information only. So if you have specific questions, because every autonomous situation is different, so depending on your income, your setup, your family situation, even timing. And most of you have your own personal circumstances. So, for specific advice, best to contact your Hester or your accountant or contact Solo so they can review your individual case. Okay. But for now, let's go through the questions and answer as many general points as we can. Shade, I will start with this one. So, as you correctly pointed out earlier, the first question was whether DNV applicants or holders would qualify for Beckham's.
Sorry, can you repeat? I thought it was going to be shown on the sorry, I was like waiting.
Is here. So do we qualify for Beckham law?
Oh, okay. No, well, Beckham law, yeah, I mean, if you're a digital nomad, you can apply. If you are qualified, the ones are going to say that it's Hacienda. Okay, you need to submit a lot of things, especially to prove why you need to be on the Beckham law. And normally, this was only for people that were like adding extra value to their freelance work, like doing a research that was going to be. But now they open it, and there are like specific things that you can prove that you do as an autonomous as well. But it will definitely depend on what you do. We have an FAQ on our website that it's very long and the information is very long. But what's important here is that it's not guaranteed that even if you apply and you meet the conditions, that you're gonna get the Beckham law approved. Okay, and the process, it's not speedy. So it is, I mean, maybe you apply today and you were helping or hoping to get this flat rate, but at the end of the year, and a lot of people get this denied. Okay, so a lot of people get it approved. We need to see. So what we need to see is your specific case, and then we can tell you is it worth it or not, and based on that, you can go on.
Yes, and I think generally I can butt in a little bit here. It would normally really apply to those who are coming over as employees. For contractors, there's very, very specific and narrow conditions to be able to even avail of it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Shade, it's not so much of an issue about applying for it, but the possibility of being audited in the future if you don't actually meet the conditions.
Absolutely, because like I said, like the conditions are strict, and that's and like you need to be doing something. I don't remember the word now, but it's just like you need to prove that you are going to do that, and maybe you can prove it on paper. But if you don't, then yes, they can audit you.
Perfect. Okay. So Jane is asking whether Spain has discounts or exemptions for a family who is a dependent with special needs.
Yes, there are specific deductions for special needs in all of the regions. It depends on the region that you are based and the specific needs that you have. But yes, there are deductions. But I
Okay.
mean, there's a wide range with that. But yes.
So this one I believe would have a certain nuances, but I will still ask. Just to be clear, VAT is only for those who has Spanish clients.
Yeah, let's say yes and no, because when you're dealing with clients, and let's say clients and companies, okay, so you have client, it's another person, even if that other person is not in Spain but it's a private person, then you most likely need to collect VAT if they are also inside the European Union, okay, especially the European Union. But as I mentioned, when you're dealing with another companies or people outside the European region, then no, you don't need to charge VAT. But I will change Spanish to European clients, maybe.
Okay. So for DNV dependents, do they need to file renta if they're earning rental earnings outside Spain?
Yes. If you are living here for more than 183 days, you are considered a tax resident here. Okay. Even if you, like I mentioned at the last of the presentation, if you already filed taxes over this information in another country, then you can prove to the hacienda here that you already paid it, but you need to do the report. Okay. So yes.
Okay. This is a little bit specific, but I think it still can be general, just as a practical example. So this person was approved in February, but they entered physically Spain in May. When will they start paying taxes?
Oh, and when you are living in Spain, right? Yes.
So it's going
Yeah.
to be in the next quarter that you will be captured for purposes of your filing.
Yeah, correct. I mean, as long as have not stepped on a foot in Spain, then you're not going to be considered. I mean, you can be approved of the visa and never enter Spain. But yes.
Okay. So I think another question is here. So if I arrived and started living in Spain in August of 2025, I don't have to file the annual tax return.
The other way around. You need to file it. Yeah, if you start living in Spain last year, you need to be a tax to file the tax return this year.
Okay.
That's it. Especially in August
Another
because it's more than 183 days. But even if you're in on the DNV visa, then you normally are a tax resident already. Yeah, that's a really good question. Utilities are deductible, but the same as the rent. So only a percentage. It's gonna be small because it's a percentage of the space that you use as an office, and over that amount, a percentage as well. So it's like
Yeah.
30% over the 30% or something like that. But it can be deducted. Also, the
Okay.
internet.
So I think, yeah. Okay, perfect. So this question I think was asked around the time when you were talking about hacienda auditing. So they're asking, can we
Wow.
simply take a picture of the receipt in case they audit?
Yes, as long as you have proof there is a no receipt, no receipt, invoice. Okay. Because what happens? The receipt has the information from the person that is issuing it, but not the person that is receiving it. So invoice needs to have both of the information, yours and the client's. So when you're an autonomo and you're buying things, for example, you will buy a laptop. When you go to the place that you're buying it from, you need to say that you are an autonomo because it's a business business transaction, and they will do a very different invoice. There are also simplified invoices, but a picture will work. Yes. Can you throw the invoice that you have? Maybe wait for a year to do that. But as long as you have all this information, if it's an expense, you can just have digital copies and save it somewhere because anyway, the invoice is gonna be blurred at the end of the month, maybe. If you are the one issuing the invoice, you should have this information for at least 4 years. Like, no questions at all, because you can be audited and then you will need to check for this information. If you issue invoices in paper, you should have a digital track to avoid any complications with that. But if it was an expense, yes, a picture should be okay of the invoice. And if it's one of that you're doing, then I mean, yes, but you can also have a digital track and avoid all those folders with all those papers.
Yes. Perfect. Next is, should I include my rental property income from the Philippines on my taxes in Spain?
If you are paying taxes in Spain, yes. If you are not paying those taxes in Philippines, yes as well. If you are already paying that in the Philippines, then yes as well, because you need to prove to Spain that you have already paid that in Philippines. Okay, so anyway, yes.
with Spain and Hacienda, it's probably always going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want them to collect the money from you, okay. But if you haven't yet presented these taxes in the Philippines and you are wondering if it's Spain the right place to do it, it depends. So maybe check with the accountant. But if you have already done it, then you need to prove to Spain that you have already paid that.
Correct. Okay, this one is interesting. Can I deduct foreign exchange loss from platforms like Wise, PayPal, etc.? Is this if the client is paying you in foreign money? I'm not sure. I think that's what this question is asking.
Yeah. When you are collecting money with different currencies, that's a really good question. I don't want to answer it because there are conditions to it, and it might affect. I would suggest for you to check this with our accountants, because normally, like, the bank, how do you say it? I said it before, but some things that the bank fees can be deducted, but this needs to be checked. Check with the accountant. That's the formal.
It is an interesting question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a
Okay.
good question.
Another one. Are there tax deductions for autonomous with partial disability?
No, no. This will apply only as for you as a person living in Spain, but as an autonomous, unless there is something specific related with this disability, no. But as a person living in Spain, yes. So it would apply on the annual tax return. It depends on, as I said, the disability, the percentage of this disability as well. So a lot of things related to that. But for autonomous per se, no.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is more solo related. What is solo's data retention policy? Would it be easy to export my data if I have to change?
Yes, and actually we have the policy public on our website if you want to read through it. So we are very clear about that. And yes, once you say I don't want any to be more with Solar, you can export this information. We have the books as well, and we send it to you, and that's it. No,
What about,
no.
I'm also interested. What about the other way around? If they already come from another provider, how easy is it if
It's
they
also
import?
it's easy because what you need to do is to bring this information with you. And if you don't know how to do it, you can grant us the permission. And permission is like an email saying, can you please contact my my previous accountant, and we get in contact with them, and we get in touch with them to ask all the information that we need from them, and that's also not an issue. But it's a good question, because if you're already an autonomous, for example, and you want to move from accountants in the quarterly filing reports, you need to check. I mean, it's better to have everything already clean and reported with your previous accountant and then move, because normally fees can affect in this case, because we don't have your information and we need to have all this information before doing anything for you. But yes.
Correct. So this one, I also get quite a few questions around this. So if I have employees, I also include contractors in other countries, and they are sending me invoices for the work they did related to my work. Are they deductible?
Well, we do not handle employees, but if yes, contractors, um, yeah, this is an expense because you are outsourcing a service. So this should be deductible because, I mean, if it's related to what you're doing, then yes. We need to see, of course, if we can support, because normally, yeah, it sounds complex for solo. But yes, short answer.
Okay. How about life insurance? Is it deductible?
Mm, I don't remember. I don't think so, but I don't know. So I won't answer this, and I will check with the accountants. But life insurance, I think not. But I don't remember clearly, so I will get back to you if you want to an answer with you.
Okay. Other questions? So these ones, other ones are quite specific already, but if we have other questions that I might have missed, let me see if Okay, this one. So, oops. Is there a website where all of these allowed deductions are listed? Yes, and a team member will be sharing the link below. Solo already has a web page on all the possible deductible expenses that you will have to pay. So,
Yeah.
this is an interesting question. So, if are school tuition fees of dependents deductible in the annual return? These are deducted by their bank, or this exclusive for Guarderia?
It's a it's actually for guarderia for children under 3. And for school tuition, I think there is dependence on the region. There can be deductions, but I'm not sure really on which region are those and the amount. Okay, so but yes, normally this is only for children under 3.
Okay. So this one, I think this is going to be very relevant since we are now going over the half of the year. So people who will be coming over later in the year will of course also want to know what their possible tax obligations are. So if you enter Spain in October 2026 and registered as autonomo, of course, with your to comply with your DNV, do you need to pay taxes in Spain for 2026? Especially if no tax was paid in the home country before moving to Spain.
Yeah, and I will suggest also to check the rules in the country that you were in before, because every country has like different obligations. It happens to me. That's why I'm telling you. Yeah, because I was living in Colombia, and then when I moved here, I even if I filed the taxes in Spain, I had to also file the taxes in Colombia. So it was like now, it was not, how do I say it? Like dismissed. But if you were entering Spain in October 26th, so this year later, or if you entered last year, but if it's this year later, then yes. Even if it's October and you haven't completed the 183 days, you need to be autonomous to all the DNV visa and to properly report the work that you're doing from Spain. And since you are already an autonomous and you are working from Spain, in 2027, you need to file a report for the 2026 year, even if it's
Okay.
just 3 months.
Okay. Other questions? Let me see. I think this one is a simple declaration, but if I have accumulating stocks or ETF investments, how do I file or declare it?
This is a really technical question. It would be better to ask for an accountant, because investments, yeah, this is another tier
Com-
completely. Accountants will, yeah,
for
accountants will tell you. I mean, what I can tell you is that this is done in the annual report. It depends if you have a, if you earn something, it's not like the base investment, but there are a lot of rules that apply there. And yes, an accountant can tell you that.
Perfect. Okay, I think we're good. We have answered quite a bit of questions. Shades, thank you so much. And thank you as well to our audience for all your very participative questions. Thank you for joining us on our webinar today. And again, if you need any tax help, feel free to check out Solo so that you have a much easier time when you're here in Spain. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.